The following is a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network.
What's up, everyone? We're back after a short, brief hiatus. We're back in full effect. Huddle Up is here. The fellas are back. We're ready to talk some sports. We're going to dive into Mizzou, MSU, the Chiefs. We're going to really talk about high school football. Some crazy things happened last week. We got my man up top, Guy Newcomb, the scoreboard guy, the one and only. He's sitting there looking handsome as can be. Look at the man. Everyone say hi to Guy. And right next to him, doing his best Bruce Arians impersonation, is my main man, Darren Archer. We are here. We're excited. Hey, we're going to jump into it. Fellas, how was your break? How was Thanksgiving? It's been a short, brief hiatus, but how's everything been going, Mr. Newcomb?
Hey, it was great. It was great to see family. Thanksgiving, they make just tremendous food. And I don't know but the mashed potatoes and gravy and the ham, oh, I could eat it all day. And those pecan pies, I had to sneak one home. But it was great to see everybody, and everybody so far pretty healthy in my family. We've been very, very fortunate.
Beautiful, beautiful. What about you, Bruce? I mean, DA, what about you?
Had a great Thanksgiving. Just thankful for great family, great friends, and good health. And had a real, like Guy said, I ate way too much. But looking forward to Christmas now. So we're getting geared up in the Archer household for Christmas, and I love this time of year.
Guys, fellas, I also had a great Thanksgiving. Had family come in town. We did a lot of things, traditional things. Had a great time. It's always that Wednesday before Thanksgiving. It seems to be, kind of where you kind of peak, where everyone's just fresh and getting in. And I had a couple adult beverages, and we just sat back and swapped lives for a little bit. But we had a good time, guys. Well, I'm glad everyone's healthy. I'm glad we're back. Missed you guys. Let's just jump into it. There's several hot topics to talk about. I myself wanted to talk about Mizzou. Starting off, they had a big victory, Mizzou football, against Arkansas last week. I didn't see it coming, but I believe I said Mizzou would make a bowl. I think I said something like the Gatorade Car Wash Bowl or something crazy. But Mizzou ended up winning that game. And actually, I would probably put the University of Missouri football program as one of the most improved programs ending the year. I mean, they played Georgia, number one ranked team, tough at home. They stuck with Tennessee, and Tennessee kind of wore them down. And they played a lot of good teams, and they played them really tough. And look at what could have happened at Auburn and Georgia. Who knows, gentlemen? But let's just throw it around. Let's kick it around. What do you guys think about Mizzou football's program in the last victory they had against the University of Arkansas?
Well, I thought that was huge. Getting bowl eligible, have been bowl eligible for several years. Drinkowitz, they signed him to that contract extension. Then he goes out and loses that later on that day. But they rallied, they played well, they got good quarterback play down the stretch, and they didn't get that early in the season. But to go to a bowl game, and I think they end up playing Kansas, in a bowl game. Kansas bowl eligible as well, and that guy over at Kansas, probably the Big 12 Coach of the Year. And Drinkwitz, you got to give him 4 years, and he's in year 2, and I think he made huge strides this year.
Yeah, I agree. I'm pleasantly surprised, to be honest with you, because I had him written off, 3 weeks ago, because I knew they would more than likely get through New Mexico State, but I saw Arkansas lurking there, and I just thought, man, that's they've got to get that one to get 6 and be bowl eligible. And I just didn't see it. I'll be honest. Too many ups and downs. The offense wasn't clicking, but I think what we saw was a young team mature over the process and progress of the season, which was frustrating to watch at times, but it was neat to watch these last two weeks. And the important thing is, it's not only do they get to a bowl, but they get that extra month of having that group of kids together, especially the young group. And that's just more time on the field for them to practice, more time together, and more time to mature, which I think will pay off in the future.
I do too. I 100% agree. Arkansas, on the other end of that, is kind of an enigma. They were kind of up and down, and they played some teams tough. And They played LSU tough, and then I hear after the game that they fired their strength and conditioning coach. So someone had to be the scapegoat. So he's out of a job. But I mean, hats off to Mizzou. Even though I've never really been a big Mizzou fan, but hats off to them. Their program is definitely on the rise, and I look forward to see what they do next year. Now, bringing it back home, bringing it local. I mean, our Bears. I mean, we got to end of the season victory, but it's just a very disappointing season. And I wonder where the program goes from here. You're losing Jason Shelley. You're losing several people, several experienced wideouts. Where do you think, just throwing it out there quickly, gentlemen, where do you think the Bears go from here?
Well, Bobby Petrino can recruit, but he's going to have to recruit an offensive line. I mean, they lose the Webb City kid. He goes in the transfer portal. They lose an All-American kicker, goes in the transfer portal. They lose Shelley, and the backup name escapes me, but I've seen him play a few times in scrimmages, and I think he's going to be solid, but he's not Jason Shelley. Jason Shelley, he didn't have a bad year. He just was running for his life the entire season. I mean, this is the conference player of the year from a year ago, and he doesn't even get honorable mention all conference this year. And he just didn't have any time to get anything done. But, it's going to see whether or not Petrino can recruit.
Yeah, I think the offseason is going to be huge. And they're going to have to get some kids that, may be higher than FCS type kids to take this program to the next level. I think the big difference was this year, not only adding to what Guy said, but I think they weren't a secret this year. They were marked out on most people's radar as a team that, hey, you better be ready for, and we're going to have to do a lot of preparation for. Whereas in the past, given the history of the program, really, Johnny, and I've said this in the past, ever since you were playing, it's kind of been a downtrodden program, and all of a sudden it's built back up. And I think that people took notice of that, know that they have a well-known coach who's proven. I just think that they became a lot more important on people's radar when it came time for preparation. So this offseason is going to be very important. How many kids they lose in the transfer portal. I think that they will be big players in the transfer portal. I think if they're smart, they will be anyway. And then they just need to get a good young nucleus to come in and learn the system and be here 4 years from now. And I think that's what builds stability.
You know what, Jim, and I completely agree. I think something's going on. There's some apathy that set in here in Springfield with our MSU athletics. And it's really kind of sad because there were some days that we used to stand in line with the MSU basketball Bears to get tickets and just to get good seats off of the bleacher seats that were up there. And now Dana's doing a good job. He kind of ran into a little road bump last weekend at the holiday tournament. DA and Guy, let's talk about the MSU basketball Bears for a minute or two. What are we up against? I saw the game against Middle Tennessee State. I actually had courtside tickets, and I was excited about what I saw. But I don't know if they're going to be able to overcome the injury from the starting point guard. But they got some people who can put the ball in the basket. But I'm just kind of trying to figure out what we have over there. Gentlemen, what do you think?
Well, I think this may be the most athletic team that Dana Ford has had. As far as getting up and down the floor, and I know you lose a guy that goes to transfers to Mizzou, and he didn't even get on the floor in their last game. So in Mosley, so there was something obviously there. There was some tension there. There's also created there for Coach Gates to be benching him and not playing him. So that may be an addition by subtraction. Maybe he was up for maybe Conference Player of the Year a year ago. He could put it in the basket, but he's not playing up there. The injury, that's devastating to them. I think one thing right now is you're early in the season. You got 12 new players. They're not used to playing with one another. And I think once that cohesion gets there, I think they're going to come around. Now, they got a conference game that's going on as we're recording this up at Illinois Chicago. So we'll see how that comes out. But you can't let two double-digit leads get away from you in the Bahamas. And they're just not good from the free throw line. And that's what kind of killed them in those two games. They do win the third game against Oakland, but we'll see what happens here in conference plays that begin tonight.
Yeah, just echoing what Guy said, and really the main point of they basically have a brand new team, and they have to almost recreate themselves after losing Mosley to the transfer portal to Mizzou, and that is kind of a head scratcher, Guy, with Mosley not seeing the floor up there, and kind of makes you wonder what's going on. I really like Dennis Gates. I really like what he's trying to create there. Positive attitude. I think his schedule is set up, and you look at the schedule and think, they're playing a bunch of patsies, a bunch of low-level Division I. Well, when you have a brand new team, much like what Missouri State does, you've got to instill some confidence in these kids and get them believing in what you're doing through some success, because it's going to get brought to you every night in the SEC. Same way it is in the Missouri Valley. And I like what Coach Dana's doing. I think he's a great coach, a good people person. I think he's able to motivate kids to work for him. And a lot like what Guy said, let's leave judgment till January. Give this team time to grow, which I think you have to do with Missouri State, which you have to do with Mizzou. All those different schools. One other point as far as college basketball is concerned with West Missouri State, I know it's not a big surprise to anybody, but they're undefeated, ranked number 1 in NCAA Division II, last year's national champions. They lost a lot. They lost a kid to the NBA playing for Houston. So, it's going to be interesting to see what Coach Ben McCollum does up at Northwest Missouri State, one of the best D2 programs in the nation. And like I said, they have a national title to defend, and very well could do it.
And how is he still at Northwest Missouri State?
Hey, I don't know. I know he played there because he was playing there when I was coaching in the MIAA, and he was a good scrappy player. His teams play a lot like he coaches his teams a lot like what he played. He was just one of those kids. You look at him, you think, he's not a player. He gets out on the court, he's a player, and his kids emulate that out on the floor. But you're right. I don't know how he's not scooped up by somebody.
Yeah, he probably will here soon. And I know the feeling when you look at someone. Because when I looked at Guy, I'm like, no way in hell he's a player. So, you just never know. They fool you all the time. No, he's one heck of an athlete. Hey, everyone out there, you've been listening to Huddle Up. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back. When we come back, we're going to jump into a little bit of the Chiefs season, see how they've been doing, and kind of rank them where they are in the NFL. And I got them right there at the top, but we'll see what the rest of the fellas have to say. We'll be right back on Huddle Up here in the Pizza Ranch studio. Stay tuned.
Chevy Silverado. It's got the power you want and the capability you need to do the job, so you can get to the important work. Find new moments, find new roads. Get a $500 cash allowance on all 2022 Silverado pickups with a 2.7-liter turbo engine. Plus, unlock your code to claim $500 Chevy CyberCash. Visit ChevyCyberCash.com today.
It means the world to me to have a job where I can help farmers. That's what I want to do, is be here for them.
Alan became a counselor in a rough time. He just has a feeling for what we as farmers are going through.
I learned that there's not a given in life. It takes a team, not only us, but Country Financial. And I've learned that there's people that also are going to watch out for us and that care.
Imagine a bank that goes where you go, creating seamless solutions for every step in your financial journey, allowing you to manage your money the way you want to, with a banking relationship that makes every day extraordinary. Imagine a world full of possibilities, always within reach. Central Bank. We do banking better.
Welcome back, everyone. I appreciate you watching Huddle Up here in the Pizza Ranch studio. Hey, we're talking about a lot of things. We just throw it out there. Whatever sticks to the wall, that's what we like to talk about. No format here, just three guys. 2.5 good-looking guys, and we'll try to figure out. You guys figure out which one is the full good looking and which other one is is bringing up the rear with the other half. Okay, so we'll go from there. And so we're just going to talk about things. And one of the things we typically want to talk about is what the Kansas City Chiefs are doing, what that team out in the western part of the state is doing. Phenomenal. After losing Tyreek Hill, lost a Hardman to an injury. Who knows what was going to happen, DA? And here they are. They go and they beat an undermanned Rams team, which kind of made me a little bit nervous because Mahomes ended up being 27 for 42. He passed for 320. But what I want to talk about, Dio, that guy, and I can't even say his name right, Pacheco. I mean, that kid runs the ball really hard. But what are your takes on the Chiefs, and what do you rank them at as far as the NFL right now, DA?
Well, they've got to be toward the top of the heap. You know, if you're going to rank everybody overall, and definitely in the AFC, I think they've done what they need to do. They need to continue that through the rest of the season so that they can maintain home field advantage throughout. I think that's going to be hugely important throughout the playoffs, not only if you make it to the AFC Championship game, but prior to. And, you know, I don't think you want to be going to Buffalo in mid-January. It's going to be bad enough playing in Kansas City, Missouri, let alone having to travel to Buffalo to play in mid to late January. So, you know, I just think they've got to stay the course.
Yep.
I like the direction that the defense is headed. You know, it's kind of a bend, don't break,
Right.
Which I think kind of fits their talent. And, you know, here's the thing. They're on the field a lot, and that's because Kansas City scores so quick and so efficiently that they spend a lot of time on the field, and not by their own doing necessarily, if that makes any sense. So, you know, as long as everybody can stay healthy, you know, that's the big thing in the NFL, especially this time of year, is you can't have, you know, you can't have guys from your offensive line, you know, getting hurt. And, you know, those key areas on both sides of the ball. I like where they're at.
I love it. I know Guy got something to say. He got Chief underwear on. He loved the Chiefs. Go. What you got? What you got for me, Guy? What you got about the Chiefs?
Hey. Actually, I grew up a Cardinal fan, but when they moved up from St. Louis in '87, I still root for him in the background. But I'm a Patrick Mahomes fan. Right. You know what he's been able to do, and you know, they lose those wide receivers. And, you know, I know Rams are down. They don't have Cooper Kupp, who's probably the best wide receiver in the league, you know, and put up numbers last year that's unbelievable. And I probably gave him the death knell because I drafted him on my fantasy team. And he hadn't helped me a bit. But I also have Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, but he's thrown for over 3,500 yards. They've scored more points than anybody else in the NFL, 326 through 11 games. They're 9-2. They basically have a 4-game lead over Buffalo, who's not even in first place in their division. And, you know, everybody comes in thinking that the AFC West is going to be the best division in football, and they suck. But you look over there at the AFC East, you know, and you've got Buffalo, and you got Miami right now who's leading that division, and the Jets, who once they figure out who their quarterback is, you know, they had a great start, but now they've kind of fallen off a little bit. But the Chiefs – they're the best team in the NFL. I mean, the Eagles, you know, they're doing it with mirrors. And Jalen Hurts is, you know, he's having a tremendous year. You know, he finished second in the Heisman a couple of years ago or 3 years ago, and now all of a sudden, you know, he's probably the MVP in the NFC right now. They're 10-1. They got the best record in the NFL. But I think Dallas gets them in the end. I think Dallas's defense is just too strong, but. Yeah, I'm hoping for a Kansas City-Dallas Super Bowl, and I think that could happen. But the Chiefs right now, and Isaiah Pacheco, you know, there's a running back that you were talking about. He's from Rutgers. You know, he was like a 7th-round draft pick, and he's having a tremendous year. Now, they picked up Melvin Gordon, who, you know, I mean, I think he fumbled the contract. He couldn't get it signed because he just fumbles everything. But they got to get somebody in the backfield, and the injuries right now are wearing them down, you know, on the offensive side of the football. But as long as you got Travis Kelce, and I still don't know how in the heck he keeps getting open. I have no clue how he keeps getting open. But right now, I mean, he'd probably put himself into the best tight end ever in football with statistically.
Well, I'll say this: I still think the Chiefs a little bit more than you think. I just didn't like execute in the red zone. I just don't like Travis Kelce is a big time player. He's the best, one of the best, if not the best wide receiver that I've seen. I just think they're going to run into some problems. We'll see. We'll see. We got several more weeks to let this play out. I think we got 6 more games to play, and we'll see what happens. But don't count out the Dolphins and the Ravens and the Bills. Those teams know how to run the ball and well, they pass the ball a lot more in Miami. We're going to see, gentlemen. What I do want to do, I do want to run something through you about college football. As we saw the rankings came out yesterday, Georgia's number 1, Michigan 2, TC and USC round out the top 4. I agree with it for what it is record-wise. What are your gentlemen's take on how that runs out? And while we're talking college football, give me your take on the Heisman Trophy. Is it a real award? Is it a quarterback award? And who do you think is leading right now? Who do you think will win this thing, which I think has become predominantly an award given to the best quarterback on the best team? What are your thoughts, gentlemen?
Well, as far as who's leading it, I think Caleb Williams at USC, he's got to be top in the running. And then you got the Dugan kid at TCU, who's a quarterback. He's had a tremendous season. They win 62-14 over Iowa State this past weekend. Kind of seals their deal getting into the Big 12 championship game. Now that's a K-State team who they just barely beat early in the season, and that's a game that could decide whether or not Ohio State or Alabama. And I don't think right now Alabama with 2 losses. I don't think there will ever be a 2-loss team in the top 4. But if TCU gets beat, and it wouldn't really be an upset. They're playing at Jerry Jones Dome or whatever, Jerry's World. That I don't think that's out of line for them to get beat. And then you've got C.J. Stroud at Ohio State, but he gets blown out. Yeah. And then outside of that, it's a running back, quarterback world. Yeah. As you look back, I mean, I can't think of the last, and those guys, they really haven't blossomed in the great NFL careers. I mean, you look at maybe Marcus Mariota. I tell you 2015 Derrick Henry, he's a stud. And
yes, he is.
He won it. Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Devontae Smith, Joe Burrow. He got to a Super Bowl. He won it 2 years ago. But it is a quarterback driven, and there's always guys that they flail out. Baker Mayfield, Johnny Manziel, I think won it.
He did.
He may have won it twice.
He did.
Tim Tebow won it twice.
Did he?
But I'm pretty sure Tim Tebow won it twice, but I don't know if
that's very sad.
No, he did not. He didn't win it twice. My mistake.
Okay.
But he won it back in 2007. That was the only year that he won it. But with regards to the Final Four, I think it's a done deal. If those 4 teams win, it ain't changing. And there's no way in hell Purdue is beating Michigan in the Big Ten championship. Georgia, I think even if they lose to LSU in the SEC championship, they're probably they won't drop any further than 4. I can't imagine.
Good. That's good assumption. DA, you agree with some of those things or what?
Some.
Yeah.
I think there's a good chance USC does not make the bowl series.
Really?
I really do. And
I don't think even if they beat Oregon?
If they beat Oregon, yeah, but I don't think they're going to.
Oh, wow.
I don't think they're going to. Oregon got beat by Oregon State, and their hair's on fire right now.
Yeah. They had a big lead too.
Yeah. They did. And Oregon's had a great year ever since they got beat, horribly bad by Alabama that very first game. They've kind of got it put together and let one slip away this past weekend. I think Ohio State slips in that 4th spot, and I think you see Ohio State, Georgia in one bowl. I think you see Michigan, TCU, and I think Michigan, Georgia advance, and I think that's going to be one heck of a national championship game.
Gentlemen, let me tell y'all something. Michigan is the most overhyped team that I've seen in a long time. They can't play any better. They could not, and I don't even think they played good Saturday. They had some big explosive plays. Ohio State had a chance to go for it. 4th and 4, I believe it was, early third quarter, mid-third. Stroud saying, let's do it. He decides not to do it. He decides to punt, gave up basically 20 yards, 25 yards of field position, and Michigan just powers down, got them on their heels. Michigan, to me, is we'll see. If they play Georgia, Georgia will beat the sleeves off of. I'm telling you right now, the SEC talent is overwhelming what Michigan has to offer. That's my prediction. I'm standing on it. Hey, you listen to Huddle Up here. I'm not going to give anybody a chance to respond to that. Huddle Up here at the Pizza Ranch studio. I'm the good-looking guy at the bottom. The other two up there is the guy named Guy with the music he's messing with on the left. And you got Bruce, Darren Archer, Arians on the right-hand side, everyone. We'll be right back. We're going to wrap this up, talk about Missouri high school football. You listen to Huddle Up here at the Pizza Ranch studio. Be right back, everyone.
Everyone thinks their mom makes the crispiest, juiciest, best chicken ever.
No way. The country's best chicken comes from Pizza Ranch.
Hot and ready on the buffet, it's always available, along with your favorite comfort foods, like mashed potatoes and gravy.
Which are never lumpy, like my mom's potatoes.
Sorry, Mom. The country's best chicken, along with mashed potatoes and gravy, are always found on the buffet at Pizza Ranch.
All right, here's the thing with loans. Don't look around. If you do, you start noticing things. Noticing things always leads to other things like, yeah, we should probably fix that up a little. And we're not spending, we're investing. We're talking future here. And look, it has 200,000 miles. Time for a new one. You've earned it. You know what's crazy though? All those things are true. For the little project or the big dream or just about anything else, a Great Southern loan is just right for the things you can't help but notice.
We're back. We're ready to wrap this up. We got our final segment of the night here. We're going to talk about a little Missouri State high school football with our two local experts here, Darren Archer and Guy Newcomb. Gentlemen, pretty interesting week. We got some local teams that made it out, that play for a state championship. We got some teams that didn't make it, but still had great years nonetheless. So let's go ahead and cap it off. And gentlemen, go ahead. Let's start with some of the scores. Guy, I know you had something to say about how Lee Summit North lost the game to one of my teams, my St. Louis brethren, CBC. What do you got to say there, Big Nuke?
Well, I tell you what, that was a great game on Saturday. You know, it's CBC has to get by Liberty North, who'd been ranked number 1 all year long in the state in the semifinals, and then they get Lee Summit North. And this game is tied at 28. And Jeremiah Love, who's a Notre Dame commit from CBC, had 5 touchdowns in the game. And, nearly, I think he had over 300 combined yards in the game, passing or rushing and receiving. It's 28 all with 1 second on the clock. I'm sorry, with 6 seconds on the clock. Lee Summit North gets the ball down to, I believe, the 3-yard line. And they decide to call a time. They're out of timeouts. They call their last timeout, and rather than go for it and risk the clock expiring, they decide to kick it. Well, the first kick is wide left, but here comes the flag. And they get a roughing the kicker, so they get to go half the distance and kick it again. CBC blocks it, sends it to overtime. In high school overtime, each team starts at the 25-yard line. You get 4 downs to get it in. Jeremiah Love on the first play runs it in for a touchdown for CBC. They kick the extra point, and then they hold Lee Summit North out of the end zone, so they win 35-28 in overtime. So they are your back-to-back state champions in Class 6. Scott Pingle is actually their head coach at CBC. He's been there 15 years, and he set the all-time NCAA receiving record as a player at all levels with receptions and yards, breaking Jerry Rice's record when he was in college. And so I got to visit with him going into that game on the air at Missouri Sports Network. Great interview with Scott Pingel. And then, then the rest of the games on Saturday were just semifinal games. So you had 8-man, you had North Andrew, and they're going to play Bishop LeBlond. North Andrew defeats Archie 60-22. Bishop LeBlond over Sweet Springs 44-22. And then Class 1, you've got the defending state champion East Buchanan as they defeat Duchesne 41-14. And this is a Duchesne team that came into the game with a record of 5-5, but they play an incredible schedule in the St. Louis area, and that's that Archdiocese conference that they're in. They play MICDS, and they play some incredible schools, teams up there. But East Buchanan will play Adrian, who defeated Monroe City 32-16. In Class 2, you talk about the points being put on the board. Blair Oaks, who is undefeated, and they're taking on a good Bowling Green team who's undefeated. Blair Oaks is down 16-15 at the end of the first quarter. They're up 41-30 at the end of the second quarter. And then they hold Bowling Green scoreless in the third, but they put up 16. They win 66-48. And the quarterback, Dylan Hare for Blair Oaks, the numbers he's put up are at a national level. He's the only player in Missouri high school football history to throw for 10,000 yards and rush for 5,000 yards in his career. He had 631 yards on Saturday and 6 touchdowns. So he's had quite the year. Yeah. I got to visit with he and Coach LePage on the Missouri Sports Network here this past week, and that interview actually just went out tonight. But they're going to take on Lamar, who Lamar's won 8 state championships since 2011. No one else has won. It's made their 4th most in the history of the state, but they didn't win their first one until 2011. And Jared Beshore, who was he was quarterback on 4 of those when they won. And then he won 2 years ago in his first year as a head coach. And then last year, on the last play of the game, he got beat by Lutheran North, but they had 12 players on the field, and the penalty flag was not thrown.
Yeah, it's Westminster Christian.
Westminster Christian.
Yes, yeah.
And
I was right down the line on that game, and it was kind of funny. Nobody heard anything till the next morning. Matter of fact, I put a tweet out that I think may have started the ball rolling because somebody had noticed on the film that they had 11 people. And so I asked the head of officials. I actually saw him pass through that next day, and I said, are you guys aware that there were 11 men on the field? And he said,
12.
Yeah, 12 men on the field. I'm sorry. 12 men on the field. He said, yeah, we just heard about that. There's nothing can be done about it now. So, yeah, bad way to lose a state championship.
Horrible way.
Sorry, guy. Didn't mean to cut you off there.
That's a great topic because Coach Beshore handled that with class.
Yes.
Because he knew about it. He didn't raise a stink about it. I got a call from the guy working the game in the booth calling it on Misha TV, and he called me. He said, "Hey, did you see that video out?" And I said, I've seen the video that Archer put out, but I haven't seen any other. And he said, well, I get a message in my headset from our producer in the truck who was a female who didn't know a lot about football, but she said through his headset, are there supposed to be 12 guys on the field?
Yeah.
And this was after the play when they were running the replay. And but they've got redemption on their mind. And it's a Blair Oaks team that's very good. This is the best Blair Oaks team. Blair Oaks is the Class 3 state champion from a year ago. They dropped a class. So they're down into Class 2. And then Cardinal Ritter and Reed Spring in Class 4. Cardinal Ritter's just been putting up stupid points all year long. Very similar to Blair Oaks. They win 54-35 over Pleasant Hill. And then Reed Spring, they beat a good Sullivan team, but a Sullivan team that was minus 2 of their interior offensive linemen for that game. And it was much closer, really, than the 49-20 appeared. I mean, this is a game that Reed Spring's 14-all with 7 seconds to go in the second quarter. Reed Spring has the ball on their own 19-yard line. And rather than just kneel it down, they just throw it up. and James Dowdy catches it, goes 81 yards, with no time on the clock. They go up 21-14, then they get the opening kickoff of the second half, and James Dowdy runs it back for a touchdown.
Oh, wow.
And so they're up just 28-14 like that. They go on to win 49-20. They had a scoop and score in that game. And James Dowdy sets 2 records, school records in that game, caught 7 passes for 229 yards, school record. He picked off a pass, which was his 18th interception of the year, which also set a school record. So 2 school records for him in that same game. So they'll play, and that game will be on Saturday at 11. Then St. Mary's, they played Smithville, and Smithville defending state champion, and they kind of let this one get away because Smithville had a lead. They were up 23-10. They ended up getting beat 37-23. Kind of the floodgates of turnovers, things like that came open, and then St. Mary's will play St. Dominic, and they're in the same conference. They're both out of that diocese conference in St. Louis, so they've played each other. They're going to play again, but they're going to have to. They might as well ride the same school bus because they're just not very far apart. And then Fort Osage over Cape Central in Class 5, and Francis Howell kind of really put it to what I thought was a very good Carthage team, 35-13. So those are the scores from this past Saturday, and going into week 15, your state championships. And I know we've got a who you got up, and we'll just kind of run through these, starting with 8-man, and we'll let DA kind of tell you where the votes are right now. But in 8-man football, this game is actually Thursday night at 7:00, and that's Bishop LeBlond and North Andrew. Bishop LeBlond is 10-3, North Andrew 13-0, and I believe making their first trip to a state title game. What are the numbers here?
Sorry about that. Who you got? Go to Missouri Sports or Missouri_sports on Twitter. Search for who you got, and you can vote on who you think will win every state championship matchup. As of today, with 160 votes in the 8-man state championship, Bishop LeBlond is garnering 35%, while 65% of our voters think that North Andrew will win the state championship.
And then Class 1, you got defending state champion East Buchanan, and they will take on Adrian. East Buchanan's only loss of the year is to Savannah, who is a Class 4 school up there in that conference area. And their coach Anthony Hayes was the head coach at Parkview, and then at Branson, and now he's up at Savannah. But who you got there?
Once again on hashtag who you got. Class 1 with 182 votes. Adrian has 35.4% of the votes. East Buchanan has 64.6% of the votes. There's a young man, running back, that we need to mention by the name of Trevor Klein. He's a junior, had 6 touchdowns in the state semifinal game. He is the total package.
And we have reached out to Coach Ritter, trying to get him and that young man on the air at the Missouri Sports Network in Class 2. And this, I think, is going to be the game of the weekend. Lamar and Blair Oaks, 2 teams. This could be 70 to 69, or it could be 70-10. Either way, this is it's either going to be a blowout or it's going to be a one or two point game. I think.
Sure.
Who you got?
With 151 votes total, Lamar garners 42.4% of the votes, while Blair Oaks 57.6% of the votes.
2 of the best quarterbacks in the state there, with B. Shore, who is actually the coach's younger brother. Jared's B. Shore's younger brother is his quarterback, and then Dylan Hare at Blair Oaks, who's the 4th Hare to be a quarterback at Blair Oaks. Class 3, Reed Spring 11-2, and Cardinal Ritter 13-0. And Reed Spring, congratulations. Coach Andy McFarland, it's first time ever that Reed Spring has been in a state championship game, and consequently, he's been hard to get on the air. He's being pulled on by every direction. Had to go speak today at the Branson Chamber of Commerce. He's been speaking at Reed Springs Elementary Schools, and he had an online deal with Misha today. But congratulations to Reed Spring, and they've got one of the best all-around athletes in the area, and in the Cameron Weist, he's got offers from Nebraska, Wisconsin. He doesn't have any SEC, but Mizzou, and he's decided to go to Missouri State. And this kid he's a man out there. He can carry the ball, he can catch the ball, but he's an edge rusher, and he's going to cause some problems, I think, for them. But Reed Spring, Cardinal Ritter, who you got?
Reed Spring with 103 votes total. Reed Spring has 34% of the votes. Cardinal Ritter, 66%. Cardinal Ritter has a young man by the name of Frederick Moore, who scored 5 touchdowns in the state semifinal game. He's a heavy load.
And we had Coach Spain on the air with us just last week from the hotel lobby coming to us. But Class 5, you got St. Dominic and St. Mary's. That game is Friday at 11 o'clock. St. Dominic comes in at 8-5, and St. Mary's at 11-2. Who you got?
With 192 votes, St. Dominic with 23.9% of the votes. St. Mary's with 76.1.
Well, there it is. There it is.
Francis Howell and Fort Osage will make up your Class 5 state championship. That'll be the late game on Friday. Friday at 7 p.m. Francis Howell 13-0, and Fort Osage 11-2. Who you got?
With 376 total votes, Francis Howell has 88% of the votes.
Wow.
Fort Osage 12%.
They're not giving them a chance, are they?
No, sir.
That's those St. Louis people. They're stuffing the ballot box.
Hey,
well,
watch them
I think their 12th man crew got involved, and they've been pushing the vote for sure.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
All that gets underway Thursday night at 7 o'clock with 8-man, and then there'll be 3 games on Friday and 2 on Saturday. And then it'll be officially basketball season.
There we go. There we go. Well, gentlemen, I love it. I love it. Who you got? Hey, there's a lot of good games. Go out there, support your team, or just support the student athletes. If you can make it to Columbia and check out a couple of those games, or you can make it this whole year, even with the basketball season come out, get out and support these student athletes as they go out and show what they're made of. Hey, Jim, we're going to do one quick round of what you're thinking, and then we'll be done with it. I'll start it off, give everyone a little chance to catch their breath there after that segment, but I'm thinking USA. I'm glad they made it out of that pool, and they're able to get into the knockout round. And with some injuries, we'll see what happens. But I'm excited. I'm excited for the country. I'm excited for everyone that gets the chance to see these individuals compete at the highest level. So that's what I'm thinking. What about you, Guy?
Well, I'm thinking I got a Christmas parade coming up Saturday, and I'm wondering how in the heck Archer's going to keep that dang 24-foot Santa Claus blown up on his trailer and how I'm going to stay warm.
Here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to have Guy hold that 24-foot Santa Claus, and we'll put an electric heater back there for him.
I love it.
That's what I'm thinking.
I love it. Hey, I tell you what, if you give that guy Newcomb a grill, he'll stand out there barefoot. You give him some grill and some good food, he'll stand out there with nothing on.
That's right.
Hey,
That's
gentlemen,
right.
Appreciate it. Good talking to you once again. Hey, we do our thing every Wednesday. Tune in to us and give us your support. Give us a little feedback. Let us know what you're thinking. You've been listening to Huddle Up here at the Missouri State and Missouri Sports Network at the Pizza Ranch Studios. We'll see you again next week, everyone. Take care.